Inaugural. Webster's dictionary defines the word inaugural as marking a beginning. It's a word that hasn't been a part of the Indianapolis vocabulary for a long, long time. The world's premier racetrack is filled with tradition, hardly an ideal home for new beginnings of any sort. But 1994 is different. Tradition is about to be altered a bit, and not with a whimper, but with a bang. For the first time in some 83 years, a second race will be held. It isn't to be the sounds of Indy cars racing around the 2.5-mile oval, but rather the roar of stock cars rumbling across the famed strip of bricks. It's the inaugural Brickyard 400, marking a new beginning. A new tradition has begun. In 1911, the name Ray Haroon forevermore became engraved in the history books by capturing the very first Indianapolis 500-mile race. Some 7 decades later, a child was born. A child who would grow up in a rural Indiana home, only miles from the world's most famous superspeedway.
Jeff was 6 or 7 years old when this tremendous desire to succeed, this relentless desire to accomplish something showed up.
I was really into it, really wanted to continue doing it, and I think that's how it is about anything. When you're successful at something, you want to continue on doing it, and that keeps your interest.
His success would be the things that dreams are made of, but seldom, if ever, come true. A son who grew up to be a race car driver. His story is the story of the inaugural Brickyard 400.
There will be a Nascar Winston Cup stock car event here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, August 4th, 5th, 6th, 1994.
That announcement from Speedway President Tony George in April of 1993 single-handedly changed the course of the history of auto racing. But novel ideas are not foreign to the Speedway. A track that was constructed in 1909 as a testing grounds for automobile manufacturers soon became home to a multitude of races, actually holding its first competitive event, a balloon race, while work on the facility was still in progress. By August of 1909, the track was complete. An inaugural series of automobile races led to an immediate repaving of its crushed stone and tar surface with more than 3 million bricks. Hence, the Brickyard. Over the next year and a half, dozens of automobile, motorcycle, and bicycle races were run. The events were well attended, but management decided that one major event a year would be best. And on Memorial Day 1911, a tradition was started, one that would change little over the next 83 years. Early in 1959, another tradition got its start, one that would later become the crown jewel of the NASCAR circuit. Though originally run on the beach, the first official Daytona 500 took place at Daytona International Speedway, Lee Petty taking the honors. stock cars had been to Indianapolis before to participate in an endurance race for the Stevens Cup in 1962, but the event was not highly publicized and would lead to nothing further. IROC cars raced the speedway surface for the first time in 1992 in a testing session designed to determine the future possibilities of stock cars running the Brickyard. Later that summer, the large trailers housing NASCAR's best rumbled down the interstate and onto the grounds of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the very first time. The first official NASCAR testing session held at the Brickyard was a two-day event, drawing nearly 100,000 fans and concluding with a 9-car drafting practice. The summer of '93 brought a repeat performance as a second mass testing session in August again led to giant crowds and another unofficial drafting practice. This time, though, it was a bit more of a race, complete with spills, thrills, and bumper-to-bumper action.
We're always asked the question, what do you do the other 11 months a year, or what other races do you hold here? And to most people, the answer is obvious. We've always just had one race.
There's nothing wrong with, I don't think, having two traditions. And is when people sit back 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and look back at it, I think they're going to, to a man, will feel that it was a good thing.
The event would be called the Brickyard 400. And for the first time in 83 years, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway would be alive with the sounds of Winston Cup stock cars.
The first race of the Brickyard is going to be one of the most important races of my career. Now, don't get me wrong, the Daytona 500 is an awful big race, but this is an inaugural race, and it's a race with a lot of tradition.
A lot of people from homes want to come and hadn't got tickets and asking me if I got tickets, and it'll be people from all over the world to come here to witness it.
We've talked about it for a year and a half, and it's sort of, you said all you can say about it, and you've done all you can do. It's sort of like, okay, I've said it all, let's go race now.
You have to remember that for years and years, and to a large degree today, that one of the goals of most every race driver born in America was to race at Indianapolis. And somebody that elected to go have a stock car career, that wasn't possible. Today it is.
The stage was set. It was time for the show to begin.
It's the biggest race that I think I've ever run, so it'd be the biggest win I've ever had. And if I can only win one, I want it to be this one.
Indy, when you say Indy, you say racing, and the stock cars, I feel like, have arrived when they go to Indy.
Well, I tell you what, here at Indy at the Brickyard 400, everybody's excited, pumped up.
Well, it's a great opportunity for all of us to take advantage of, a major happening in motorsports.
It's just a great thrill for the NASCAR people to be able to come and run at the Brickyard, where there's so much history of so many great drivers that's run here.
Oh, it's exciting just to be here.
Elvis is in the race, really?
Yes.
No
He's
kidding?
going to be there, yes, and he's going to win.
First on the track for Thursday morning practice is Mike Wallace. Others are only inches behind.
There's the signal, and out they'll come, so stand by for Winston Cup action.
Everyone is anxious, a little too anxious. Tim Steele's throttle sticks heading into turn 1, and Steele becomes the first incident of the week.
You're coming down here, it's a 2.5-mile track, but we're not at Daytona or Talladega. You can't run through here wide open all the way around the racetrack. And we tried, but we didn't do it.
Minutes later, Joe Nemechek loses control in turn 4.
I was trying not to hit the wall hard. I was trying to drive the car, but you're coming off that corner at 170 miles an hour, and G-force is going to take you to the wall no matter what you do. So I just held on. It completely destroyed that race car, but we'll get the other one out and hopefully go fast.
Jeff Gordon is the morning's fastest at over 170. Rick Mast and Ernie Irvin also topped the 170-mile-per-hour barrier. Threatening rains become a reality as a summer storm quickly puts an end to the rest of practice and forces attention towards the 3 p.m. qualifying hour.
Number three.
Qualifying for the Brickyard will be no easy task. Over 80 entries are vying for only 40 starting positions. More than half the drivers here will not make the race. On the first of these 2 qualifying days, only the top 20 positions are locked in and cannot be bumped on day 2. But unlike the Indianapolis 500, qualifying will consist of just a single lap, so getting it right the first time is essential. There is no room for error. At 3:01 p.m., H.B. Bailey becomes the first Brickyard 400 driver ever to make an official qualification attempt at the Speedway.
H.B. Bailey is on the course. Our first qualifier ever.
Bailey's speed proves to be way too slow, and he'll have to be satisfied simply to have made an attempt. Dale Jarrett won the Daytona 500 a year ago, but this season has been difficult. He's all over the track, but qualifies at better than 169, bettering Derry Cope's new track record established only 11 minutes earlier.
It's the fastest that we've run here testing and while we've been here today.
Brett Bodine shatters Jarrett's mark with NASCAR's first ever 170-mile-per-hour qualifying effort at the Brickyard.
I'm sure 170 is going to be safely in the field, and we're happy with it.
Depending on where your allegiances lie, Dale Earnhardt is either the circuit villain or a superhero.
And the run is underway.
Today, the man they call the Intimidator satisfies both camps, gunning his Chevrolet around the Brickyard at almost 172 miles per hour, another new track record.
We have a new driver on the pole, Dale Earnhardt.
The ink is hardly dry in the record books when Rick Mast blasts his way past Earnhardt to the head of the field.
And it's a new Brickyard record. Rick Mast is now on the pole.
Mast speed of 172.414 has given others a pole speed at which to shoot for.
Pays $50,000 to win today. It's 500 Saturday. That's what we're really after.
Rusty Wallace has won 5 times already this season, but comes up just short of Mast's pole-setting effort, as does Winston Cup points leader Ernie Irvin. Both he and Wallace top the 169 barrier. Mark Martin cracks the top 10 at 169.690. And rookie Joe Nemechek amazingly comes back from his morning mishap and qualifies his backup machine at better than 168.
The car was real loose qualifying, and I'll take that lap.
This year's Daytona champion Sterling Marlin is in. So are Bill Elliott and Bobby Labonte, both with laps over 170. But neither is quick enough to catch Rick Mast.
You give it your best shot, but you never know.
Pocono winner Jeff Bodine rips off a lap at almost 171, then boldly predicts victory on Saturday.
We're going to win this race. Hoosier tires are going to win. We're in the Hoosier State. We got to. But the Exide Ford is going to be in Victor Lane Saturday. I predict that. Don't normally do that, guys. You better bet on us, though.
Only 1993 Winston Cup Rookie of the Year, Jeff Gordon appears to have a shot at the pole. His morning practice speed is still the fastest of the day.
Can he do it? Jeff Gordon. And he's already out of turn 4 down the main straightaway. There's the checkered flag.
Gordon's one-lap effort is spectacular at better than 171, and the Pittsboro, Indiana native will line up third on race day.
I'm happy. I got a smile on my face. I can't complain, that's for sure.
Making the feat even more special for Gordon is the fact that today is his 23rd birthday, and the hometown crowd acknowledges the accomplishment with their own birthday serenade.
I guess I can't have it all on my birthday. I got a lot of great gifts coming into this day, and I thought maybe we could pull this one off. Maybe we're saving a little bit of that luck for Saturday.
The pole position now decided, Rick Mast collects $50,000 from Busch Beer and a Chevrolet StarCraft van for his pole-setting effort. The first half of the field is locked in. The rest of the grid will be filled tomorrow afternoon. The second and final day of qualifying for the inaugural Brickyard 400 will be no easy assignment. Only the top 20 speeds are secured, and 63 cars will be vying for the final 20 positions, this time in an inverted order from yesterday, in order to assure that everyone has an equal shot at the cooler track conditions the late afternoon brings. In the morning practice session, Ben Hess spins in the south short chute and hits the outside wall before coming to rest in the middle of turn 2. His bid to make the inaugural race is over. Early in the afternoon, Jerry O'Neill's Chevrolet spins coming through turn 3 and slides through the grassy infield strip. O'Neill makes no contact and continues, but the pressure to make the field of NASCAR's biggest payday is increasing with the race less than 24 hours away. Unseasonably cool temperatures make fast times a reality, and Wally Dalamac Jr. and John Andretti both safely make the field at better than 169. It was Andretti who earlier this year finished 10th in the Indianapolis 500 on this very same track. Todd Bodine makes it 3 Bodine brothers in the race. And 3-time Winston Cup champion Darrell Waltrip puts his Western Auto Chevrolet safely in the field.
Even the crowd, I mean, I thought maybe, I said, man, I must have broke the track record because everybody's waving, they're screaming, they're hollering, they're waving their hats. I said, man, I've done something pretty spectacular here. But it's just a great feeling.
The Kellogg's car of Terry Labonte cranks out the second day's fastest qualifying effort. Another lap at over 170. He'll line up 21st tomorrow.
That's the biggest race of the week, is making the race. I was kidding somewhere in the garage. I said, I think I can win the race if we can just make it.
4 o'clock and a suddenly slippery track makes for a flurry of qualifying mishaps. Robert Sprague spins through turn number 1 and hits the outside wall with the left rear tire before coming to a stop in the south short chute. Lance Wade follows up with 2 complete spins of his own coming through turn 3. Wade doesn't make contact and returns to the pits unharmed. 3 minutes later, it's Stan Fox's turn. The Indy veteran brushes the wall on his way to the green flag. His day is done. Next in line is NASCAR veteran Dick Trickle. Trickle's run looks good, but he too touches the wall in 4. Amazingly, Trickle's speed is still good enough to make the field. Now it's A.J. Foyt's chance at history.
And guess who's out there? Yeah, car number 50, and it's A.J. Foyt.
The 59-year-old Texan has run the Indianapolis 500 a record 35 times, winning it 4 times. Foyt retired in 1992, but jumped at the chance to become a part of the historical inaugural Brickyard field.
And there's a checkered flag as it waves for A.J. Foyt. Now let's hold on. Where did it put him? It moved him up to the 35th spot. He made the field at this point.
Well, I feel pretty good when this is all over with, but right now, we just got to wait and see what happens.
Rookie Loy Allen Jr. earlier this year sat on the pole in Daytona, but the Brickyard will not be as kind. Allen loses control in turn 2, spins in the backstretch, hits the inside wall and comes to a stop. His day is through. Ken Schrader is in, bumping Dick Trickle from the field and eliminating his earlier miraculous effort.
Don't want to start 23rd, but actually pretty happy with it right now.
Danny Sullivan hasn't had the speed, but today he does. The 1985 Indianapolis 500 champion is quick enough, making it 4 IndyCar drivers in the field and putting A.J. Foyt on the bubble as the slowest car in the field.
I didn't think I made it. When everybody started applauding coming down the back, I thought, well, maybe it wasn't a bad lap. So I'm real happy. I'm tickled pink. I mean, that was just great.
Others try but fail, and A.J. Foyt hangs onto his spot in the lineup, becoming the oldest driver in the field. With 3 additional provisional starters, the inaugural Brickyard starting lineup will consist of 43 drivers, a new record for Indianapolis. Race day morning is right around the corner. A new tradition is about to begin. They say tradition is spontaneously created. With that as a guideline, sparkling blue skies greet the drivers race day morning, along with a sellout crowd estimated at better than 300,000 and a worldwide television audience. The inaugural Brickyard 400 is the largest attended first-time sporting event ever, and today's crowd is geared to become a part of history.
A lot of people. It's great for the sport of motorsports. Looking good.
See all the people and all the cars lined up. It's hard to believe that we're here. It's great.
Just being here is so unbelievable, and to be a part of this whole event. But man, to come out of here on top, be the winner, I can't describe it. It would mean more to me than anything in this whole world.
Get knocked out of this thing in 2 or 3 laps, and there it goes. All your hard work.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot better to hang in there and pick your way back up through there as the day goes on.
The key is trying to figure out what the racetrack's going to do. None of us have ever been here. We don't know what it's going to do. This track changed the other day in 3 hours of practice more than any racetrack any of us have ever seen.
This is like the Super Bowl or the first Masters that we could compete in. I know that Rusty's excited. Rick Mears has been there to work with him, and Unzer's been telling him about the hump going into turn 3.
This place is very magical, and the people here are just tremendous, and there's so many people, and you know, you always have butterflies here.
It's like going to Disney World for the first time.
It'll be the greatest win, you know, you could ever have. It's going to be fantastic for the winner.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
NASCAR's Jimmy Cox signals the drivers, and the Chevrolet Monte Carlo leads Indy's biggest ever starting grid away. It's a field so competitive that the difference between pole sitter Rick Mast and the slowest qualifier A.J. Foyt is, incredibly, just a little over 1 second. The 43 drivers include 4 sets of brothers and will pilot 15 Chevrolets, 23 Fords, and 5 Pontiacs, each circling the Brickyard 160 times, and each hoping to take a place beside Ray Haroon in the history books.
The eyes of the entire sports world are focused at this moment on 300 acres of real estate in the northwest section of Indianapolis, Indiana. A new tradition begins as the green flag is about to come out to signal the beginning of the inaugural Brickyard 400. And the green is out.
Left-hand turn of the day. It's Earnhardt taking the lead on the outside. Now Mast moves onto the inside. They're side by side into the short chute to number 2.
They said they couldn't pass in the short chute, but they're attempting to pass down too wide. Now they funnel in the single file. Mast has the board out front and 2 Chevrolets behind him. Earnhardt goes second. Jeff Gordon goes down third. Single file. Now they start to go 2 and 3 and 4 wide down the back stretch toward turn 3. Earnhardt looks to the outside, looks to the inside. Jeff Gordon trying to go around Earnhardt. He won't do it as Earnhardt slams the door. Rick Mast in the lead, going through 3, going to the short chute and heading to 4.
Rick Mast has the lead. Earnhardt right behind him. Jeff Gordon right on his tail. They come through very, very smoothly through turn 4. Single file.
In 78 previous runnings of the Indy 500, 151 different drivers have led a lap. Rick Mast has become the first to lead a lap in the history of competitive stock car racing, and that's the first time he has ever led a first lap of any race.
Lap 2, and Dale Earnhardt brushes the wall in turn 4. The mishap forces him to the pits for tires 2 laps later, and Earnhardt will be forced to play catch-up all afternoon. Lap 3, and Jeff Gordon, the youngest driver in the Brickyard field, becomes the second leader of the race. It's a lead he'll hang on to for the next 22 laps. Danny Sullivan loses a window on lap number 4, bringing out the first caution of the day. Harry Gant runs through the debris and shatters the errant window, while Sullivan will lose valuable time in the pits to repair the missing piece.
The green flag waves once again. We're back under competition. It is Jeff Gordon who is leading, but look at the cars fan out at the back of the pack to shuffle for position.
Gordon still leads when Jimmy Spencer gets out of control in turn 3.
We've got Jimmy Spencer into the wall in turn 3. Came off high. The tire mark starts down, coming into 3. He rides the outside wall and comes to a stop.
The green flag flies again on lap 15, and Jeff Gordon leads the field into the first turn. Gordon's car is working great. Lap 25, and Jeff Bodine catches Gordon heading into turn 3. And the Brickyard 400 has its third leader of the race.
And look at that, side by side down the backstretch. On the inside, Bodine may have him going to turn 3. Jeff Bodine by a fender cuts in front of Gordon coming to 3. And Jeff Bodine in the lead of the Brickyard 400. But Gordon's not going to give it up easy. He'll close down going through 3 and heading to the short chute.
6 laps later, the first series of regularly scheduled pit stops occur.
The crew remains on the driver's left side of the wall. They come across as he hits the second to first stall, and now they go to work. They will change all 4 tires, and it looks to be a normal stop. We'll see if they make any adjustments.
Bodine brings the X-Side Ford in. Now they'll get a chance to check that fuel mileage. Right side tires are down and away. I see the right rear tire off of that. Of course, Jeff is one of the cars on Hoosier Tires. Tire wear looks good. They're on the left side now, and Jeff will be down in the road momentarily.
It's been 30 years since Gasoline Alley actually housed gasoline, but today it does. Unlike the Indy cars who utilize methanol for fuel, the stock cars are powered by gasoline, and crews are forced to scurry to the garage area for additional supplies. Bill Elliott, Todd Bodine, Greg Sachs, Dale Earnhardt, Ted Musgrave, and Lake Speed all take turns leading. Speed has started 41st in a provisional spot, but by lap 42, he's got the lead. The first quarter of the race is complete, and already 9 different drivers have led at least 1 lap. The inaugural Brickyard 400 has become a fierce battle to determine Indy's first champion.
A.J. Foyt could lead the Brickyard 400. He's running in second. Gant and his Spears and Lake Speed not that far in front of Foyt, but they've all got to make a pit stop soon.
The 59-year-old veteran racer has moved up to second position by the 1/4 mark by stretching out his pit stops.
But Foyt doesn't get the mileage he's projected and runs out of fuel, coasting into the pits.
A.J. Foyt is off the pace. Just as we were talking about him perhaps leading, he is off the pace. In fact, the engine is dead, and the legendary A.J. Foyt, a 4-time Indy 500 champion, in perhaps his very last ride competitively in a race car, is coasting without power down the backstretch.
He loses crucial laps, and A.J.'s dream of accomplishing the impossible is not to be. Harry Gant leads a lap in this, his final season on the NASCAR circuit. Jeff Gordon recaptures the lead on lap 48. Gordon will lead the next 23. It's the second time today that the Hoosier hero has led this race. By lap 54, 30 cars are still on the lead lap. Race leader Gordon pits again on lap 69.
That was a scary moment of the day, probably the scariest moment of the day, the closest call if there was any. I was trying to get Jeff a lap down because he had just come into the pits. I got by him, and he was a little bit faster, he had new tires. I tried to wave to him. I put my arm up in the short stretch before we got to turn 4. And he was right on my bumper. Maybe he didn't see it, and I dove down to the bottom to try to give him the outside, and I guess he decided he was going to go by me on the inside, and he must have gone through the grass to get there because I was in the grass, and next thing I know, boom, here he goes flying by on the inside, and we brushed. My left front hit his right rear. I'm just glad that it didn't cause any major damage or get either of us in trouble.
The 80th lap, the halfway mark of the inaugural event, and all but one car is still in the race. Gordon now leads Jeff Bodine by 6 seconds, but Jeff Purvis is leaking grease, and the resulting caution slows the field for the 3rd time today. Gordon and a host of others pit for the yellow, putting Jeff Bodine on top. As the green flag flies on lap 85, less than 200 miles remain, and Bodine heads off Gordon heading into turn 1. Bodine, remember, boldly predicted victory only 2 days earlier in qualifying, and is threatening to follow through with his pre-race forecast. Jeff Bodine maintains his lead for the next 15 laps. This year's Pocono winner is looking like a good bet to be the first driver on the new PPG Brickyard Trophy. Even Country Western's Tanya Tucker is excited. Suddenly on lap 95, Winston West Series points leader Mike Chase and NASCAR veteran Dave Marcus tangle in turn 2.
Trouble in 2, 1 car, 2 cars involved. 1 is Marcus at number 71. They got together coming through the short chute, slammed the outside wall very hard to the inside on the grass. On the apron now is the 71 car of Dave Marcus. Both drivers remain in the cockpit.
Both cars are eliminated from the race. With the incident, Bodine and Gordon both pit for fuel and tires, and brother Brett Bodine assumes the lead for the first time today. Incredibly, all 3 Bodine brothers have now led the first Brickyard 400.
As they drop the green flag, Brett Bodine leads his older brother Jeff down to turn 1. Darrell Waltrip drops into the 3rd spot. There's Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace, Ernie Irvin, Bill Elliott, all safely through. There is action for that number 3 spot. Waltrip on the inside. Let's check it, Gary.
The Bodine boys run 1-2. Waltrip alone in 3rd right there, and Jimmy Hensley is the lap car between 3rd and 4th. Gordon runs in 4th position, and he'll try to go by Hensley to sneak up behind Waltrip and battle for 3rd.
Brett Bodine still leads, but finds himself dueling with brother Jeff in the 3rd turn. Jeff bumps his younger sibling from behind, a tactic that Brett takes exception to as the pair head into the 4th turn.
Bodine has him coming through 4. Good move to the inside. Oh! And a Jeff Bodine spin coming off turn 4 right in front of the entire field.
Look at everybody going to the inside to try to avoid the trouble, some coming down pit road.
Brett spun me out. We've had some family problems and personal problems between us here lately, and he just unfortunately took it out on the racetrack with me, and never expected he'd do it. He's my brother. I still love him, but he spun me out.
I would never carry a family problem. I would never carry a personal problem with another driver out onto the racetrack. There's no room for that. I raced the 7 car and I raced the 75 car. Just because I got 2 guys in them with the last name the same as mine doesn't mean I treat them any different or anything like that at all. We're paid professionals. We have to go out there and race each other just like we race the other 40 cars, and it's just unfortunate. Jeff got in the back of me over in 3, got me loose. He dove underneath me. He gave up the good line getting into 4. As we went through 4, I had a better approach to the corner. I was able to get back in the gas. I thought he would accelerate harder off the corner, and I run in the back of him. That's the way it happened.
Again, the green flies, and the battle resumes. This time with Brett Bodine at the point.
Jeff Gordon spent a lot of time trying to set up Jeff Bodine early in the race and couldn't get it down. Now he goes to work on Brett. He will not catch him into the short chute at number 1.
You can believe that Gordon made a mental note on what happened when the Bodine brothers tried to go side by side.
But Gordon recaptures the lead from Bodine on the very same lap.
Well, Jeff Gordon took the lead, coming through 4, went down low, a great pass around Brett Bodine, and they've got single files coming through 4. Again, a very good pass by Jeff Gordon.
50 laps to the finish, 125 miles, and Gordon leads Brett Bodine by just over a second. Lap 115, and Ernie Irvan now runs second. The Winston Cup points leader would like nothing better than to notch a win here at Indianapolis. At the three-quarter mark, Gordon has stretched his lead over the Texaco car to over 4 seconds, while Rusty Wallace, Brett Bodine, and Bill Elliott run 3, 4, and 5. What a race! Roger Penske was victorious here at Indianapolis only 2 months earlier, as Al Unser Jr. captured his second Indianapolis 500 crown and Penske's record-setting 10th. For the Brickyard, Penske is represented by Rusty Wallace, and by lap 125, Wallace is running second.
New second-place runner is Rusty Wallace. Irvan back to third.
Irvan catches him 2 laps later, dropping Wallace to third, with Gordon maintaining his slim advantage.
Does he have a run?
I think he does.
Looks like he does. Well, these two cars are evenly matched.
Suddenly, Jimmy Hensley and Jeff Brabham tangle in turn 1.
In the first corner, a car has just tagged the outside wall. You can see the marks on the wall. The safety crew is going out there now.
The accident brings out the 6th and final caution period of the day. It also allows the leaders to make their final pit stops. Gordon is in first, followed by Irvan and Wallace.
Irvan dives in the pits. Right side's going up. Rusty must be overheating because they had a brush over there, brushing off the front of the car. Jeff Gordon changing the right side, brushing the grill off. Jackman comes around. A chassis adjustment. Put one around the wedge in the car. Rusty's moving. Ernie's moving. Jeff Gordon is moving, but Rusty Wallace is going to beat him out.
Rusty Wallace is out in just over 16 seconds, going from third to first in the process. The green flies again on lap 132, and Rusty Wallace becomes the 12th different driver to lead today's race.
In his career, Rusty has led over 1,500 laps. He's going to add another one to that career total right now. Jeff Gordon right on his tail. Ernie Irvan, then Brett Bodine and Elliott as they're in that short chute.
Battle right now up in front. Now remember, Rusty couldn't run him down on the track, but got mine in the pit area. They work off the second corner, nose to tail, down the back stretch. Ernie Irvan stays in third position. Rusty Wallace driving the car that's named for his car owner. That's Roger Penske. Gordon's down to the inside, and Wallace going into 3. He's got the position, and now Irvan tries to tuck down low and can't get Wallace.
As they come to the short chute, it's Jeff Gordon leading, Rusty Wallace running second, Ernie Irvan third. And Rusty trying to get him back, comes down low, and Wallace takes the lead back. Ernie Irvan goes low too, but Gordon holds him off there right together, coming down the main straightaway.
Some great racing, and again they touch as they come down the straightaway. It's Wallace to the inside, and Jeff Gordon to the outside, and Ernie Irvan is a factor too.
Rusty Wallace has got him, and deep inside, Ernie Irvan may get him also. Gordon hangs on to second, works the outside of the track, settles into the number 2 position.
Side by side into turn 2. Gordon on the high side, Wallace the low side. Off the corner, here comes Irvan down low. He takes second position. They're going 3 wide down the backstretch. The fans are on their feet as they head to turn 3.
It's one of the most exciting laps ever to be recorded in the history of the Speedway. As Wallace drops back, Jeff Gordon and Ernie Irvan resume their battle for the lead.
I have to tell you, I have never seen cheering like this for one individual driver at this point in any race here. When Jeff Gordon gets the lead, everybody standing up, waving and cheering. I tell you what, his fan club membership will increase after this race.
20 laps from the finish, and Irvin catches Gordon.
They stand, they cheer, they head down the main straightaway, and Ernie Irvin's got the lead.
Ernie Irvin is the 13th leader this afternoon, a new Indianapolis Motor Speedway record for any race. "16 laps to go now, and Gordon retakes the lead.
He's got the lead. Jeff Gordon has regained the lead. Ernie Irvin is right on his exhaust pipe. They settle into the move to the number 2 turn.
5 laps later, Irvin is back in front.
Ernie Irvin finally gets it. They have gone almost a complete lap side by side, but don't look now. Brett Bodine in third, Bill Elliott in fourth, and they can see each other at the 6-car train to 4.
Into 4, it's Ernie Irvin, it's Jeff Gordon, it's Brett Bodine, Bill Elliott, Rusty Wallace, and Dale Earnhardt. They all have a shot.
Gordon's mom and fiancée Brooke can hardly stand it. This race is everything it's supposed to be and more. 10 laps to the checkered flag and a place in the history books. It couldn't be scripted any better than this.
I was controlling his car actually with 4 or 5 laps to go, and he knew that, and he was just waiting for me to make my move and try to control my race car. I didn't know when to make the move. It was all by instincts, and I was just trying to get his car as loose as I could and use his tires up as much as possible and save my tires. Just about any moment I could have gotten underneath him, but I wasn't wanting to. I was wanting to wait. And, I think he kind of knew that, but he was going to do some heavy-duty blocking or something. And we were going to be side by side, rubbing fenders, would have put on one heck of a race.
But as Jeff Gordon and Ernie Irvin prepare to do battle for what appears to be one of the classic finishes in auto racing history, fate becomes part of the plot.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff Gordon, he's going to go around him. He's taking the inside. They touch. He's got the lead.
The lead going into turn 2. Indeed, they did touch. A little high coming into 2. Irvin's a little lower, but now Jeff is about 5 car lengths off, and the fans once again on their feet.
What's happened to Ernie Irvin as they go to 3?
Irvin down to the inside. He's away out of the pack.
Flat tire.
Wrong with the car, and he's slowing down. So Brett Bodine's in second, Bill Elliott in third, Rusty Wallace in fourth, and Dale Earnhardt in fifth.
Irvin slows in the backstretch, the result of a blown tire, and Gordon is now in the driver's seat.
I didn't know exactly what had happened at the time, but I saw him falling back, and I said, "Hey guys, we got it.
I knew right away we, had a right front go down. I told them before I ever actually got through turn 2 or turn 1 that the right front went down.
They said, well, we got 4 laps to go now. It's not over until it's over. And I kept watching, and Brett Bodine started coming then.
There's Brett Bodine. It looks like Brett's getting a little bit closer, but does he have time? He is getting closer.
Jeff's car was going away, and I was trying awful hard. My car would get better and better as the fuel load would burn off, but I just ran out of laps.
Too many more laps, he might have got me, but getting to me was one thing, passing me was another thing. But I just tried to drive as smooth and as patient as I could at the end without letting him catch me. I still had a little left to maybe hang it out a little bit, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to just stay in the groove, stay out of the wall, come across, take that white, take that checker.
Gordon just 2 turns to go and part of a straightaway, and he'll win the inaugural Brickyard 400, about a 15-car length advantage on Bodine through 3.
You don't suppose he's singing back home again in Indiana, do you? Jeff Gordon off turn 4. He's just got the 1 turn to negotiate, to fight off everybody, the crowd roaring.
And Jeff Gordon is about to write his name in the racing history books. Years from today, when 79 stock car races have been run here, we'll remember the name. Jeff Gordon, winner of the inaugural Brickyard 400. Jeff is screaming on his radio, back to the pit room. Oh my God, I did it! I did it!
The feeling was so incredible to come across and take that checker flag. I was on the radio screaming and yelling to my guys, and they were screaming and yelling to me. And
the kid is just unbelievable. He is just a phenomenal. And you can't be a crew chief without a crew. And I owe it all of these guys behind me. They work their tails off night and day, and they put up with me. And I just want to thank God and thank Bill France and Tony George, because they made a lot of people's dreams come true.
This is more than a dream. I don't even think I had been dreaming this, because it's so far out there. Just so many people here, so much going on. This is an event that people are going to look back at 10, 20 years from now. I get to tell my grandchildren about this. it was a great win.
Bill Elliott brings the Budweiser car home third, while Rusty Wallace hangs on for fourth and Dale Earnhardt finishes fifth. The inaugural Brickyard 400 has left race fans wanting for more. For Jeff Gordon, Victory Lane is something special. He captured his first NASCAR win just 2 months earlier in Charlotte, a race that moved him to tears. This time, Jeff takes an extra lap to compose himself before pulling into Victory Lane.
I'd gotten emotional before and just totally just let it all out. This time, you know, I held my emotions in and I just wanted to enjoy. I didn't want to hyperventilate again in Victory Lane like I did before. I wanted to just enjoy it and be happy and be smiling. And you know, I did that and took an extra lap because of it.
For the little boy who grew up racing go-karts from the time he was barely old enough to walk, dreams of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway were just that, dreams. But on this day, the biggest winner share in NASCAR history belongs to Jeff Gordon. Over $600,000, including $200,000 and the commemorative silver brick from PPG Industries.
I can't put it in perspective. I mean, that's just it. It's just unbelievable.
When Ray Haroon won the first Indianapolis 500 in 1911, his name forevermore became stamped in the annals of Speedway history. On August the 6th, 1994, Indianapolis gained another first-time champion, Jeff Gordon. A name that will be remembered decades from now. A name that will go down in the history books as the winner of the inaugural Brickyard 400.